All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's Robert Wygant, and this is our February edition of the BIM Practice Group. Today we have Noah Kennedy and Grant Goodfellow from Autodesk here to talk to us a little bit about Autodesk Seek and some of the initiatives that Autodesk is working on as well. Today we're pretty much going to go right into it because we don't have a heck of a lot to discuss prior to the meeting. I'll just open up with by saying thanks everybody for being here, and thank you Noah and Grant for coming and giving us this presentation. You know, everybody's going to be muted, that way they can get through a presentation without a lot of background noise and stuff like that. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand and we can either unmute you or you can ask the question through the questions pane. And with that, I think we can just go right into the presentation, and then if time allows at the end, we can do some Q&A and talk about a little bit of what's going to happen in the next few months. So Noah, if you are ready, I'd be happy to let you get started and tell us a little bit about what Autodesk Seek has been working on.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you all for the invitation, the opportunity to speak to you. I'm kind of speaking into the ether right now. You can hear me, can't you, Robert? Robert.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
And if anybody has any sound, runs into any sound issues, please just throw it up in the questions pane. That way we know that, or the chat box. That way we know that that there's something going on. Great.
So Grant and I were going to kind of tag team the presentation today on Autodesk Seek. We wanted to. I think my focus, and I'll start out, will be more to place Autodesk Seek in the workflow of our users and how it works with us, frankly, as a business, as a business initiative at Autodesk. Show the basic workflows, and then kind of toss it over to Grant, who is a BIM content analyst with our content operations group, to explain in more detail how some of these industry categorizations work in Autodesk Seek. So let me start by advancing the PowerPoint. Certainly put up in the content section or whatever if the advance is if I'm talking ahead of what you're actually seeing on your screen. But just to begin with, to set the stage for Autodesk's presence in the design markets and set the stage for how Seek might play into this. I am sure that most of you are familiar with Autodesk and our kind of size and position in the marketplace. And there's some statistics here to kind of fill out your understanding if that's not the case. The primary point that I wanted to make, and I think most of you know this, is that though Autodesk competes in these three major verticals in the manufacturing solutions vertical, the AEC vertical, and media and entertainment, special effects, and visualization, that that we are fairly unique in that we have we are a leading provider in all three of these vertical markets, and that's represented by our Inventor portfolio in the manufacturers group, by 3D Studio Max, Maya, and other compositing visualization tools in our media and entertainment group, and AutoCAD and Revit in the AEC market and the various sub-markets within that. The significance, I think, that because we participate in these three markets, is that Autodesk is very focused on the potential workflow synergies between these verticals. So, as an example, the AEC market has for a long time been a major consumer of our visualization solutions. We have a lot of architects and engineers using 3D Studio Max, some of them using Maya, some of them even using more sophisticated tools. And so the workflow and the linkage between the AEC tool set and the media and entertainment tool set is important to Autodesk and is a unique value that we can drive for customer workflows in that area. Similarly, we do have the sort of unique perspective on things that frequently the products that are being ordered in the AEC industry, many times those products are being actually designed with our solutions along with competitive solutions as well. So the workflow between a manufacturer and a AEC designer is something that we, again, are very focused on, and that's where Seek comes in. Seek is trying to accelerate the design and ordering process between the building product manufacturers and the designers in the AEC community. So just as a simple diagram for where Seek might fit into this is that we do have our Revit and AutoCAD solutions in AEC. Revit, of course, is our BIM solution, and I think you're all familiar with AutoCAD. So our customers in that space are these designers, obviously, who are creating design, documenting their designs, communicating their designs to others, and making choices about the products and the type of products that they want to incorporate into their designs. On the flip side are the building product manufacturers, who, as I mentioned, are frequently our customers as well. And the important aspect to an AEC designer to them, of course, is that they want to be part of the choices that those AEC designers are making. And ideally, they'd like to be part of that choice while the AEC designer is in the process of design. So it's good business for them to be able to put their products in front of designers while they're making choices. It accelerates design to have those choices available to them. And so Seek, working through Revit and AutoCAD, is our solution for connecting the two. And I should say, while I'm at it, just to give you some perspective, that from Autodesk's standpoint, Seek is Seek is a business, and Seek has a revenue number. It's a business opportunity that we are pursuing. So, as the product manager, I'm supposed to be focused on this as a business for Autodesk. It's not a feature of Revit or AutoCAD. It is essentially an advertising business, a business for the building product manufacturers to get in front of designers the way that they want to see their products. So with that in mind, I'm going to do some machinations on my desktop here to show Seek, just to give you a quick introduction for where Seek works in the workflow and how that works with Revit. So let me pull my Revit screen over here. So I hope, with a little bit of latency, that you're looking at a floor plan in Revit. So Revit, of course, is our BIM solution in AEC. Comes in, architecture flavors, MEP flavors, and like a lot of BIM solutions, there are different views on the data that you get in Revit. There's a more this example has a kind of conceptual floor plan. There's a more technical floor plan that you can imagine converting into a contract document set. Each of the elements here, of course, are models that have some intelligence associated with them. This door, for example, is something that we're going to be focusing on for the purpose of the demo. And, like a true BIM solution, there are different ways to view the model, and among the ways that you can build, that you can view this model, or to see a very realistic view of it with materials, etc. So this door here in the middle was the door that I was looking at in floor plan just a second ago. So without getting into gruesome detail on it, a typical workflow would be of consisting composing the system components and the manufactured components into a pleasing design and documenting it and creating specifications for that, et cetera, et cetera. Each of the items in the plan has, or in the building model, has its own parameters associated with this, and this is kind of setting the stage for the introduction that Grant's going to give to you about how OmniClass and master format may fit into this too. But so that door is this type of door. If it has its own parameters associated with it that flow into the schedules and potentially the specifications for the product. And if you want to change that from a double glass door to another door that they happen to have loaded into the model, like a single glass door, then you do that in this console, and then now it's a single door. The schedules have changed. The links to the specifications potentially have changed, and the parameters carried with that door have changed. So that is kind of the typical Revit workflow in and of itself. But we're here talking about Seek, and so let me introduce how Seek gets introduced into this workflow. In that, when you're inserting new objects into the model, you may be inserting them off of disk or off of a project file or something. You can also just discover new items through Autodesk Seek. So there's a Seek search bar integrated into Revit, as it is with AutoCAD. And so a designer might say that he's looking for a window and type it into there, and what happened off screen was that popped up Autodesk Seek in a browser. So the Autodesk Seek knows that a Revit user is looking for a window. There are a gazillion windows on Seek in all different sorts of file formats. We're closing in on 40,000 individual objects for more than 1,000 manufacturers so far. So now you might be in selection or shopping mode, so you're looking for an aluminum exterior window. I'm going to change the height to something that falls in a 60 to 83 inch range. This is getting the list down to a more reasonable list. And when you find the window that you want from the manufacturer that you want, you can go to the product page on that window. So this is a Pella window that has these essential specification characteristics. You can take a quick view on the window, zoom in on it to just see if that's the type of window that you want. And importantly, you can preview the Revit family parameters that are associated with the window. So if you download the window, this is the metadata that is going to come across with that download. And if that's the window that you want, then you select it and you download it and you put it into your project. So this is kind of a cloud browsing extension to Revit. It works similarly in AutoCAD for how you can acquire these intelligent models with their metadata characteristics and incorporate them into your model. Let me find my PowerPoint presentation and go back to that. That one, right? So that is the basic workflow, Seek working inside Revit. I mentioned to you before that this is a solutions offering to the manufacturers. It's free to the designers, to all the Revit and AutoCAD users in the world. They use this service for free. It's not especially expensive to the manufacturers, but there is a suite of services that we offer to the manufacturers. There's a basic charge to have your content available on Seek. They frequently need guidance. They, being the manufacturers, frequently need guidance on creating their content. And so Grant's group, the content operations group, sets standards for that, working with the Revit team, kind of does the industry classifications, et cetera, and works with a content a network of content providers to provide this content in the appropriate formats and at a high quality. We also offer to the manufacturers a special private analytics system so that they can log into Seek and kind of peruse the downloads and where the downloads went and what products were being downloaded and how people were engaging with their products. All the Gesundheit or whatever.
Excuse me.
All of the actions that I took on that product page with that Pella window were actually being recorded by Seek. So Pella has at their fingertips that somebody looked at that product, downloaded that product, looked, viewed it in 3D, other kinds of engagement metrics. And then the fourth item here, website services, is that the Seek solution includes opportunities to embed the Seek functionality in manufacturers' websites so that the manufacturers don't have to create their own download and metrics system. They can just kind of put Seek widgets on their website, and to the outside world they don't even look like Seek widgets, but it's just a faster, cleaner way for manufacturers to distribute BIM content from their own websites as well. So that is kind of a wrap on my portion of the presentation. I realize that has been kind of a high-level generic description of Seek and Revit and design workflows. Grant is going to turn the corner a little bit and talk about how the same Seek system works with OmniClass and other industry standard classifications. So at this point, Rob, I'd take your guidance. I could pause for questions here, or I could just pass it off to Grant, and Grant could.
Yeah, there's actually one question that had come up. Deb McPherson was asking about the metadata that goes into the models. Are the properties or fields unique to Autodesk, or are they using typical metadata from manufacturers associations, or a combination of both? Basically, I think the question is where are the attributes coming from that go into the models? Yeah.
So that's an excellent question, and exactly what we would have expected. That you'd be curious about, Deborah. I think that Grant is going to cover this in some detail in his presentation. So I would pause for that and see if you still have the question after Grant speaks.
Okay, sounds good.
Is that fair enough? And Grant, can Grant speak now? And Rob, what should I do? Should I pass it to Grant at this point? Am I the guy who does that, or do you do that?
I'm just passing it over to Grant now.
Okay.
Just before I do, let's just make sure. Grant, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is your screen up and where you want it to be?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm passing it to you then.
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to continue on the PowerPoint presentation that Noah started. I'm just going to talk a bit about the taxonomies and how everything works together in Seek. We do realize there are several types of schema structures or taxonomies out there: master format, OmniClass, uniformat, and we realize people are still using each of these actively. So to make it useful on Seek, we've created a back-end two-level simple database that we call Cantax that links all of these taxonomies together as best we can, so that if someone is searching for just a window using master format, it will return all the master format classified windows plus anything that's classified through uniformat as a window and OmniClass as a window. So we can just kind of see an example. Another example is thermal insulation. There are different namings for OmniClass and uniformat, but it all relates back to one category in Cantax, so that's what Seek uses as the basis of any search for the users. We chose for Seek to use OmniClass as the default classification structure just because it's granular compared to some of the other classification structures. We chose Table 23 for the products. That's what we chose because that's where everything that is AEC normally is. Now there are two steps really for getting the Table 23 data into Seek. The first step is we record it in information in the BIM model in Revit, which I'll show a little example of in a bit. And the second step is we create a product workbook to drive the information on Seek that we pull information from the BIM models, and this workbook populates all the information you see on Seek for each individual product. For the properties, relates a bit to Deborah's question. The information we use, there are default properties in Revit, depending on which template is used to create any BIM model. And any other information or properties we get from manufacturers directly from their spec sheets or from their websites. We use Table 49 where we can, but most of the information in Table 49 is more generic, covering many categories. A lot of the products we have, like lighting fixtures, they require some more category-specific parameters, like a number of bulbs only really applies to lighting fixtures, so it's not really warranted being in Table 49. The properties that we do add in situations like this, we link to the category that we have created in Cantax. So whenever someone searches from master format or OmniClass, those parameters will appear in Seek. Next off, we have been working with CSI in the past on trying to relate our master list parameters to what is existing in Table 49. Just because of the nature of Table 49 being more of a general table, not too specific to categories in general. A lot of what we have to add cannot really be added to Table 49, but we have added them to our Cantax database.
Well, Grant, Robert Wygant, the one comment that I would make about Table 49, yeah, Deborah and I were actually both on the Table 49 development team. Yeah. And the one thing about the structure is that it's in a lot of ways it's designed to put things actually into context. When you talked about bulb, the number of bulbs in a fixture, you could actually look at it and really say and call it count. And then its context being using the Cantax would actually be able to give it a better sense of what count you're talking about. So there are ways to do it, and by no means is Table 49 all-encompassing, and quite honestly, it's not even a fully released table yet. It's only a draft at this point. But we're actually reaching out to the manufacturers and the trade organizations to get more information to flesh it out further, especially with the HVAC, lighting, and plumbing areas, in order to get more robust specifics in there to make it a better functioning tool. Okay. The one thing that I will say is that you had mentioned getting those shared parameter, or getting Table 49 into shared parameters. A lot of people that are on this call probably know. I don't know if you're aware, but I had actually released a beta version of a Table 49 shared parameter file that I had created personally and have been disseminating for free. It's an excellent start and an excellent way to at least take a look into the concept of using that taxonomy as a permanent structure.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I'm just going to show a quick example of how we get the Omniclass information into a Revit model. Just open up my Revit. I've just got, hoping you all can see, it's just a simple light fixture. And one of the default parameters in our identity data for Revit is Omniclass number and Omniclass table. And the designer or manufacturer can just select whatever category they want for this BIM model to have. In this case, a downlight. This is now part of the Revit model, and it's schedulable, and we use this as one of the sources for getting information up onto Seek and classified correctly in Seek. The second part is our product workbook. It's just an Excel file. We have the ability to classify it in different schemas. Normally we choose Omniclass. It is Omniclass here. It has the same Omniclass code and title as was selected in the previous example in the Revit file. And this is used to populate the information on Seek and classify it correctly in Seek, so when people search for it using the schemas and taxonomies, they can find it correctly. Just showing that here in Seek, there are different ways you can use Seek to search for something. You can either click on these quick links we have for popular search areas. You can search in the title bar, typing in whatever you want, or you can search by classification structure. Here I'll just search for the lighting fixture that I just did. And pulled up over 6,800 that are classed as a lighting fixture. If I want the one that I was just working on, this is it here, and was able to find it using the browsing through a taxonomy structure. So that's how we get the Omniclass information into a BIM model and how it's used to populate Seek and how we utilize it in Seek.
I have a question.
Yep.
Like I'm going to use Delray as an example. If you can back up a second, one question is about the family parameters. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry, you were in the right place. The family parameters, it seems as though there's almost a disconnect. The information that you see under types and specifications here is not necessarily found in the model.
Not all the time, no.
And I'm just curious as to if you have some sort of way that you, I mean, I know you have the Revit family parameters listing what's in there, but it almost seems like a disconnect between the two. And I'm curious as to why that type and specification information isn't actually embedded in the RFA file itself.
Well, in some cases there are like a range of areas, a range of values that can be used. In the Revit model, it is kind of limited to just finite sizes. Without making, well, we can make every size, but it's not really feasible or not that friendly file size-wise to make every possible option. So there are just some ranges that we are able to find on manufacturer spec sheets that just can't be built into a Revit model.
Okay. We had a couple of questions. Is all BIM content native to Revit? Yeah, I can answer that, and it's, for practical intents and purposes, yes, it's because it's an Autodesk site. But if you want to field that and see if there's anything additional that you want to add to that.
We do have mainly Revit content on here, but we do have the ability to display other manufacturers' products and BIM models as well, and they can be on search pages.
Great, and then a comment was from Sergio Liusin. we can notice that information from different suppliers of the same component are quite different. Is there any table that associates the object to a list of properties and parameters that should be included in each specific class?
We have something similar to an attribute table based on our Cantax database. We have amassed a list of thousands of attributes that are commonly used on several products, and we've sorted them out based on OmniClass category, and we use that as a basis for populating our workbook. And
okay, so that kind of gets it into the master format OmniClass uniformat level, but not really into the attribute level itself.
Not at this point, no. There are like some shared parameter files that we do have, but they are at this stage not that developed for each product line.
Mm-hmm. And then another question is, how can a manufacturer add an OmniClass schema if they are providing a material in a wall system or floor system that doesn't use an RFA file?
They can still add the a shared parameter in Revit for OmniClass information, and then that can appear in the materials.
Well, right, but when you go to query the model, it doesn't show up the right way.
Oh, okay.
You know, Robert, that's a really interesting use case from my standpoint. And if I play it back, that's like somebody's not providing a manufactured product, but they're providing a material. I'm thinking like granite, like a countertop might be granite, or a fascia might be granite. And
well, yeah.
So can you kind of walk me through the desired?
Absolutely, and I'll show you exactly. Basically, I've been kind of going through this for years in what I do. BIM content is 3 levels. There are materials, which are the core level of any piece of BIM content. Everything is made up of materials. Materials go into either an assembly or an object.
You're right.
The materials themselves can actually carry attributes, and I put them into everything that I do. Those attributes can be passed into an assembly so that, let's say, my classic example is the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If you want to know how many calories are in the peanut butter, you don't ask the sandwich, you ask the peanut butter.
Yeah.
But if you want to know how thick the sandwich is, you don't ask the peanut butter, you ask the sandwich itself. So there's OmniClass information, especially in products, that applies to things like brick, that really is only implemented into projects in terms of wall assemblies or floor assemblies.
Exactly. Yeah.
But currently, there's no way to add a Table 23 attribute to a material or an assembly.
Right. So, so you described
which to me is a shortcoming.
Yeah. So this is something that we're actively investigating here, and so let me share some thoughts and Grant's probably coming at it from a different perspective too, but let me share some thoughts about the conversations that we've been having here. Is that so? Your example of the peanut butter in the sandwich, it seems to me like when you get down to the insulating value of a window or something, that you're going to want that is a characteristic of the assembly that in theory could be analyzed and produced by all the constituent components. But in practice, you're just going to want to go to the manufacturer or to a rating agency or something, depending on what the characteristic is, and you're going to say, okay, so for that product, for that assembly, give me what is the value I should use here for analysis or costing or whatever it is that I'm doing.
Right, but that's reactive. That's absolutely reactive. If you have because products are designed, or buildings are designed in most cases based on a reference standard. So let's say you design a window that needs to have a U factor and a solar heat gain of 0.30 and 0.30 respectively.
Right.
And you don't know whether it's going to be an Anderson, a Pella, a Marvin, a Harvey. You don't know whose window it's going to be.
Right.
What if you have those attributes built into the model, you can then actually parametrically do apples-to-apples comparisons from one manufacturer to the next using your own reference standard that you built into the model.
Right. Though I think.
Whereas if it's just linked out to a data sheet, you can't do that.
Right. So I think the point that I'm trying out on you is that in that situation, like you've got a placeholder for a 0.3 kind of functional characteristic of a component of a window or something. Then I think the scenario is that you're going to be searching for actual components to go in there based on that kind of 0.3 value to the assembly. So you're not. I think it's a stretch to say, okay, so the the glass in the frame and the installation, et cetera, has to add up to a 0.3. I think you're going to want to say Anderson model blankety blank either meets this criteria or not. Is that just kind of stating the obvious? So that's a case where what might be thought of as a material characteristic is really a performance characteristic of the assembly, but not anything that's summed up from the material properties of the components of the assembly.
Well, I mean, a U factor and solar heat gain are not aggregate. It's a number that's based on a specific product. And based on a specific configuration of a window. Mm-hmm. So it's not as though it's going to add up the materials and say it's 0.30. Mm-hmm. But being able to have those pieces of information in a model allows it to be A, scheduled out, B, can drive external documentation based on the information in the Revit relational database. Right. And allow for active specification, because quite honestly, to me, it sounds like you're really cutting BIM short by only going to the organization of products level, when it has the capacity and the ability already built in to manage all of this information effectively without taxing the database or the modeling speed. You can manage the information down to the structural performance values of a given material.
Yeah, right. I think maybe we're not communicating on that. I think what I'm talking about is that in terms of the placeholder, where you would go for that value. That I think I'm making a fairly non-controversial statement that the component probably needs a placeholder for values like that the source of that may have been from the manufacturer. It may have been a design, kind of performance constraint that was assigned to an abstract component, to a generic component, or to a component that just hasn't been selected or won't be selected, or something like that. And so that would be the basis of comparison. So if there's a 0.3 insulation value for a manufactured component, that should be assignable to a BIM object in the abstract, so that you can do early stage analysis, or if there is an actual manufactured component represented there, you should be able to query that component for that same value.
Oh yeah, I mean I agree that, but my thought is that the information should be a function of the RFA file, not a function of not simply a function of the information on Seek on the website.
Right. Okay. Yes. I mean, however, Seek may be an opportunity to browse or find that if it's held consistently with what you're doing. But yes, in terms of where it ultimately sits in the designer's database, that would be in Revit, presumably, that the object holds that value. If you queried it, it would report it. It would be subject to analysis from Revit, etc.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you wanted to schedule out all the information on your light fixtures, is ballast type listed in the Revit family file there?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Yeah. So I hope this doesn't seem overly glib. So that seems like a journey, and some of the work that Grant's group has been has been doing, and that you all have been doing, has been to the key seems to be to kind of normalize it, and also to nail this kind of category and type specific characteristic. You know, that certain things have ballast types, and I know your work on table 49 has been central to that, and we're trying to consider that too. And it just seems to come down to you know, certain specific items should carry with them certain values, and we haven't fleshed out, you know, what all of those are. But when we do, new workflows are going to be opened up for analysis, costing, quantity takeoffs, et cetera.
Okay. And there were a couple other less controversial questions.
Okay.
In what order are presented the results of a product research on the site? Will a manufacturer have to pay more to have their product appearing on the top of the result list, or is it alphabetic? That type of thing.
Yeah. So there is a notion of relevance to the search request in Seek. Maybe the first thing to say is that what's not happening is that people are not paying for preferred placement on Seek or in Seek search results. You know, so honestly, we have been asked about that a lot from the manufacturers, and we may consider that. If we did that, though, and I think there's kind of an established model now in search and catalogs, is that if we did that, we would make it very plain that you know, these were this is the organic search that you're doing, and these are the, you know, kind of preferred search results, and they're separate. Our investigations with the designers is that they actually see some value in that. That they'd like to get organic search results back, which are very, you know, fair. We're just trying to return back what seems to be what you're looking for on the one hand, and they're also interested in people from the manufacturer's standpoint, people who, you know, kind of paid to pop up in that circumstance, but they want to know the difference. They want to see a list of organic results, and they want to see a list of people who paid to get in front of them in that current situation. I think the thinking is that a lot of times the manufacturers know that when somebody's looking for a particular, when they're searching in a particular way, that that they have their products are targeted for that scenario, and the designers are interested in making that connection as long as they know the difference between them. I honestly think that the relevancy of the searches, of the organic searches on Seek, could be better than they are now. And in certain situations, like when we have a list of files for download or something, we just kind of default back to an alphabetical list so that you can find things faster. But when you see these search results pages that I was showing, that is based strictly on what appears to be relevancy to the search. And so that might include things like, I'm looking for Revit models, so you know, put the show me all the ones who have Revit models before you show me the ones who don't have Revit models. So we could improve on that, honestly. We can also see what people are doing from the metrics that we're capturing, and a very long list doesn't seem to be particularly useful to anybody. So the filtering that I demonstrated, like I'm looking for this kind of parameter, this kind of finish or something like that, is something that people are doing a lot. And so in the future, we're going to try to work on that some more also. That was a very long-winded explanation, it sounds like. I hope that I accidentally answered the question.
All right, and then there was one more question. Does Seek support inserting parametric objects, categories of families, such as not a 30-inch cabinet and a 36-inch cabinet, but a parameter and width cabinet? I'm not quite sure if I understand the question myself. Michael, do you want to try to explain a little bit more about that? I just unmuted you if you want to take that.
Yeah, am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah. The families in Revit can either be like a light where you just plug in a single light and it comes in a single size, and if you want a different size you find a different light in the search. But you can also have, if you've got a window or a cabinet, you're going to want the same family object, and it's only going to be the attribute you carry on the individual insertion that's going to change the size of the window.
Right. So you could dial in in the second case you could you could dial in at the type level of a different width,
right?
And it would go
right.
from 6 to 42 or
right.
whatever. Yeah. So so certainly we deliver objects like that in Seek. The manufacturers are they work with our content operations group on best practices and what's appropriate to their types of content and stuff. Ultimately, they do kind of call the shots in terms of what kind of Revit content they want. But there are a lot of examples of in there of things that stretch or that you can change to different values. It seems like Grant, you probably know this better than me, but it seems like a lot of the cabinets are that way.
Yep. Cabinets, windows, doors.
Yeah, Michael, it's go ahead.
Are the manufacturers having any difficulty understanding that they've got that option, or users understanding that some of the objects can be loaded as parametrics?
Grant, would you mind taking that? Grant is probably closer to that than me.
Yeah, no, they understand. Like their models up there. Like several cases. There's been ranges. It's like, say a window comes in a 2x3, 3x4, 4x5, but in reality they can make any size that they want to if someone wants it. So we have put the Revit model is created using those distinct sizes, 2x3, 3x4, 4x5, but the data on Seek has the width listed as a 2 to 4 foot, and the height is 2 to 5 feet, say. And when you're searching on Seek, you can pick something from, if you wanted something that was 33 inches, you'd search in the 2 to 3 foot range, and it would pull up that model. If you wanted the same one in a 39 inch, you'd search in the 3 to 4 foot range, and you'd find that same model there.
And if a manufacturer only has a 36 and a 42, then the search engine's going to take care of the fact that, no, sorry, you've got to go to Pella to get a 39. Are you at that level yet?
Well, I think our search right now, it doesn't allow you to search for a specific width. It just has ranges for some of the dimensions.
Yeah, okay.
In the filtering mechanism.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael.
All right, thanks, Michael.
Yep. I got the impression that that maybe Michael thought that the manufacturers weren't aware of this, or were perhaps not providing the configurability that he was looking for on some products.
Okay, well, it looks like I've gotten through all of the questions, so if you want to keep rolling, roll away. Thanks, Michael. All right, back to you guys.
Yeah, so I think actually the next slide in the deck was questions. So in terms of
no, that's good timing because we're at about 10 minutes of, so we've gone through everything, and I'll open it up to anybody else who might have any questions. I know I have a couple, but I want to open it up for anybody else before I say anything. Okay, it looks like we have. Go ahead.
Well, I was just, if we are running a little dry in terms of questions on the presentation, we'd always be curious to hear, and I think we've heard a couple of things already. For those of you who are familiar with Seek, what would be a great opportunity? What would be a great opportunity for the industry for Seek to pay attention to that we're not paying attention to. So, but Robert, your question, your comment may have been along those lines anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, I think it comes down to where is Seek headed in the way of enhancing their offerings? Is there anything that you can share with us as far as what you're looking at for 2011?
Yeah.
Any changes to the site that you see coming forward? I think to kind of look forward to whet people's appetite.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, I appreciate a question like that, and I will be, kind of a little vague on this, but in terms of the, kind of theme areas that we're focused on, you probably heard me speak to some of the things that we wanted to do with better search and filtering. We see a lot of opportunities for improving just the discoverability of elements. We may get into preferred or featured search alongside organic search, but the key thing is that the results that you get from the search bar and how they relate to filtering and whether you can use that interim search and filter in order to define a big category of things that you're interested in and work within that category to narrow on what you want seems to be an area that the designers would appreciate a lot. I think you're going to see more emphasis on more integration with the Revit workflow. The example that I showed was a fairly simple case of kind of launching Seek in a browser from outside of Revit, and we're being asked for a more integrated approach to discovery and tagging and keeping track of the things that you downloaded from Seek, things along those lines. I hope to be demonstrating at least some beta versions of some of the things that I was talking about at AIA. So if any of you guys are dropping in at the AIA convention in May, I hope you drop by the Autodesk booth and say hello and take a look at some of the things that we're working on.
Great. And we had a couple of questions come in. Is Seek available from outside Revit or AutoCAD? That's just sort of a question that came in.
Yes, I'm very glad you asked that. Yeah, so if you go to seek.autodesk.com, then you'll get this you'll get the starting point where you were when you were doing the search outside of Revit. So yes, it's a standalone website. You don't have to be in Revit. You don't have to be in AutoCAD. You can. It essentially just helps you download things to your local drive, and there are other files there other than AutoCAD and Revit files. There are actually some very nice 3D Studio Max files if you're into doing high-end visualization. Some of the manufacturers have provided those. We have some generic content for visualization. A lot of manufacturers put sample specs and installation instructions, etc., in PDF, etc. So yeah, feel free to go to seek.autodesk.com and just start browsing and downloading from there.
Great. And one thing, does Seek have a feedback system on the site so users can rate the content? Because just like anywhere else, the content isn't created by a single individual, so some is better than others, and that it's hard to police it, and oftentimes I find that being policed by others is some of the best way to go about it.
Yeah, well, so I have two half affirmative answers to that, but I know it's not exactly what the questioner is asking for. Is that there is a feedback mechanism on Seek. There's a support forum link that you can do in session up at the top of the toolbar in Seek, and that just takes you directly to something that's branded Get Satisfaction. It looks like that's what Grant is showing right now. There are places like Share an Idea is a good place to if you're missing content or if if you have problems with content or the content's of not the kind of quality that you'd like, that can be in there, or report a problem or something along those lines. The we are aware, we've been asked by designers to give them a better sense of some kind of qualitative aspects of the content before they appropriateness, really, to some of the quality characteristics of a well-formed Revit model, and we'll be taking some steps in that direction this year. What I didn't answer directly was a user rating system, which we're considering, but we don't have active plans to do that in the short term.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. And what is Seek doing to recruit more manufacturer data? And so, it seems to me that it was clear that it's a business, so it's really more it's selling rather than actually recruiting.
Yeah, well, we do it is we kind of munge the two of them together. We've always been very focused on trying to get a lot of content. There is a balancing act between raw quantity and quality of data, and so we are selling. We have a dedicated sales force of 4 now. That type of sale is an educational sale as much as anything else, and it's not like it's hugely expensive. So I don't think that the sales cycle is necessarily an obstacle to that. We have started more direct marketing to manufacturers, kind of educational marketing through the Seek website and other Autodesk means. The quantity of content, and Grant can speak to this. The backlog of content under development is certainly as high as I've seen. So and the numbers in terms of number of models and categories covered have been growing very steadily and strongly. So 6 months from now, there will be a lot more content up there than there is now, and now there's a lot more than there was 6 months ago. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, great. Well, we are just coming up on time, so I want to thank Noah and Grant for this presentation. This was great. This was a great presentation and a very insightful look at Seek. And I want to thank everybody also for tuning in today for another session. Next month, we're going to be following along with a little bit more on BIM content, looking at the types of content on other platforms. We're still looking into who's going to be the presenter, but as soon as we find out exactly what it's going to be, we're going to send a link off to everybody and let you know when and what it's going to be. So with that, we are right at the 2 o'clock hour, and I want to thank everybody for being here.
Hey,
See you next month.
Bob?
Yes.
It's Roger.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say I think we could put a date out there. I think we are talking about the 25th for March. Does that work for you?
Yeah. It works. Yeah, it works fine for me.
Okay. Well, then I will work with you to come up with our presenter, but at least we'll have that date out there.
Yep. Okay, so expect the 25th, tentatively the 25th of March, and we'll let you know exactly what it's going to be. And with that, thank you everybody for coming on, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Rob.